Hello and welcome to the show. Now, I did say I wasn't going to be doing that many more Car Mechanic Simulator videos. However, that was on the basis that nothing necessarily massively interesting was going to come out. The latest DLC has certainly caught my attention because some full-on proper supercars are here. Yes, this is not a mod for the game, as you can tell by the nice, well, custom engines, realistic engines, etc. Pagani are in, or coming to Car Mechanic Simulator, I should say. Thank you to the devs for sending me a key to this one, and sort of a couple of days early access before it is fully released. We have got the, well, we've got the Pagani Huayra over here, with its own engine, and the Pagani Zonda. Is it the Revolution? There's a lot of Zondas I can never remember. Revolucion, basically. Two very, very quick supercars. Well, I mean, this thing's basically a road legal Zonda R. It's got a number plate around here. In fact, this one's from Kosovo, apparently. But actually, come to think of it, we've got a lot of Eastern European Zondas in our workshop, because this one I just see was from Estonia. There we are. Yeah, basically a road legal Zonda R. Bonkers car. Bonkers vehicle. And yeah, we get to play around with them on Car Mechanic Simulator. As I said, they both come with their own custom engines. Now, suspension and kind of running gear-wise, I mean, this is everything that we've seen before. Does it have a? I don't think it has a special brake disc on here. No, it is what you would expect from the cars in terms of suspension, in terms of yeah, all of these bits, brakes. We've seen double wishbone suspension used on many cars. Nothing massively different, and the pair of them share the same kind of suspension components that shared between a large number of vehicles in the game. The engines are very different. The engines are very, very different indeed. In fact, very little of these engines is standardised. I don't think we've had a V12 in the past. I know we have the W12 in the Bentley, but I don't think we've had a V12 engine in anything else. And yeah, certainly the rest of these are all pretty, you know, pretty specialised. I mean, you know, we've got a specific air filter for this one. You've got completely different intake manifolds, fuel rails, and so on. We'll just take this off and have a little bit of a poke around with a Zonda, because, you know, why on earth wouldn't you? The engine heads, of course, naturally, are sort of different stuff. I think the only thing that this shares in terms of... we've got ignition coils on here. These are the, I guess, sort of transferable bits and pieces between cars. Let's get the head cover. We'll share spark plugs with everyone. I would imagine anyway, unless there are special Zonda spark plugs. Maybe there are special Zonda spark plugs. No. Fair enough. Camshafts, of course, will be... Well, V12 camshafts will be, say, unique to this. You know, thermostat, a specific V12, one timing belts. I think the only thing that... does share an alternator? And, of course, you know, things like crankshaft pulley, some of these sort of belts. It's got its own specific power steering pump over there. Exhaust manifolds are, again, different, unique, nice, twisty bits of pipe work. I would say maybe complex, I think, perhaps. Complex shapes going on. Oh, that's a clever way of doing it. Okay, so like, the entire rear section comes off, and then the little bits, the exhaust manifolds... what are they? Hold on. Exhaust manifold B, V12A. Exhaust manifold A, V12A. Oh, that's going to be really confusing naming. Exhaust manifold B, V12A, and exhaust manifold A, V12A. Right, so hold on. Does this one here, how does this one do exhaust manifolds? Oh, this one, actually, no, that's going to be completely different because that's turboed. So don't worry about it. Basically, yeah, this has got a whole unique exhaust system for it. Does it have? I know what we shall do. Zonda, to the sky with you. I was wondering if this has unique pistons or not. Some engines do, I think. I mean, I could go and look in the tablet, like in the workshop, in the buy menus to know. It's no fun in that. I should do order. Maybe not take the oil panel. Maybe drain the oil out of the car. Maybe, okay. I did buy it from the auction. Maybe nobody put any oil in it. Sounds like another garage, like mine. I'll be honest. Right, the oil pans are very interesting shape on this, and they are normal pistons. Okay, now the reason why I mention all of this, aside from being new stuff to work on in the game, is in terms of upgrading the car, in terms of performance upgrades. When it comes to these, if we go into the tuning shop, so things like an alternator, for example, that is a standard part between all of the cars, you can go and buy in the upgrade shop, and that'll give us a bit of percentage performance boost. Air filters, for example, can as well. However, with the new DLC cars that are coming, they don't come with performance bits available, so I can't get an engine head for the V12. Admittedly, you know, the Zonda is pretty damn high performance to begin with. That Zonda is a damn fine piece of engineering. I actually wonder what the gearbox and stuff would be, like the flywheel and so on, where they've got custom ones of those. So, yeah, there are a minimal amount of upgrades possible on this, and you've got to bear in mind as well, this being a V12, that's 12 pistons you can upgrade. So that percentage increase is quite big. I mean, I don't actually know what the piston upgrades are like. Piston contract. So that's 12%, well, about just over 13% in terms of the piston upgrades. You'll have spark plugs. Okay, it's only, 0.13, but when you're talking about a however many 100 horsepower car this one is, that's a fair amount. And then ignition coils are another what, 0.75, so overall we talk about just over 10%. So yeah, there is some performance to be gained. How much does this have overall, actually? From factory, 800 horsepower. You'll probably surpass 1,000. Now, I'm not going to be customizing this car. The point of the video that I want to do here is to test it out against the Huayra. So we are going to leave the pair of them stock and see how quick they can go around the test track. I did have a think about the fuel tank. Where is the fuel tank in this, actually? Shall we just yank the gear? Can I yank the gearbox out of the car? How fewer bits can I take off the vehicle and get the gearbox out? That is the question. I think that should now allow me to get the drive shaft out from that side. Let's go take the wheel off the other side as well. And then we should be able to get the gearbox. I was just curious to know if this had a... Again, I could look through the shops, but I'd rather pull the car apart, as you do, to have a look at the gearbox. Oh, it'll be on the lifter, don't we? Of course we do. Just to see if there's any different parts. As far as vehicles go that I've played around with, in this game, and as far as kind of mods go for this is definitely, I think, got the most custom parts. In terms of engine, I mean, it is an entire... Alright, okay, so things like clutch and flywheel, they are the generic parts, which, in some ways quite good. It means you'll get some performance upgrades on them. Yeah, there's a lot of new parts. A lot of new parts in these engines. They are, with the exception of some timing gear, pretty much entirely new. Right, shall we put back together our Zonda that we've kind of very wonkily pulled parts off of? Right. It does also mean, of course, we get the Zonda wheels and the Huayra wheels as well that will go on anything that you want. So yeah, if you're a fan of the fan of these particular wheels, they are now in the game. I kind of feel like they'd look very strange. I'm so used to seeing those on Zondas, they'd look very strange on anything other than a Zonda. But, you can play around until your heart's content with that sort of stuff. And then let's get that exhaust section. It's quite a big rear exhaust section, but it's, it's nice to see more variety. And again, that's kind of the advantages with these DLCs. Not only is it for me, someone who's not played the game in a while, this is a reason to come back and have a bit more of a play with some of the cars, check out the new engines and so on. Also, in terms of modding, fantastic news, because now you've got so many more components with the mod cars that are around. They can't add in parts unless something has changed since I last looked. I don't think it has, but they can't add in sort of their own custom parts. So cars are made up of a combination of bits and pieces that they can steal off of other vehicles. Now, there's some very clever ways of making stuff work with that, but that's essentially what they are. So the more parts that there are around to use, the fact that we've now got a proper full-on V12. In fact, actually we've got two full-on V12s because they are different engines and a lot more components. That's good news. Different exhaust sections and so on, and different gearboxes. In fact, actually, do these have... That's gearbox V12A. Do you have a different gearbox over here, or are you the same? Yeah, they have actually got very similar, but unique gearboxes in all of this. Now, of course, the Huayra, while it is still an AMG V12, this one is twin-turboed. We've got like a full-on intercooler Can we... I clicked on exhaust rather than go through the engine bay. Yeah, we've got a full-on intercooler system on this, which is new. There is a... Oh, where's the... Oh, the bolt's up there. There is an intercooler in the game from standard. I can't remember quite what cars... Again, it's a cool, interesting little setup. Everything around the front of the... Well, I say everything around the front. This is all slightly different. Do they use different engine heads? Engine head B V12. I imagine they must do, come to think of it, because... What is it? Engine head B V12, and this is... Engine head B V12. Yeah, so two completely different engine heads. Yeah, basically always two fully unique engines, which is, yeah, I like to see. I like to see some variety, or more variety in the game. That's pretty neat. Again, the downside of that is that it will probably mean there's not going to be much performance options available. That's a coil pack. So rather than like separate ignition coils, these have got like a giant pack for all of them. But then that will subsequently mean that there is no way to upgrade it. So you'll have, what, spark plugs and probably pistons. I doubt this one would have separate pistons. And maybe, like, flywheel. Should find a fuel tank, actually. Where are the fuel tanks? How does one refuel you? Because then the fuel pump would be an upgradable bit. Do we not have fuel? Are we powered by magic? Have we got Jeff on the case? Is this the Jeff School of Engineering? God damn it. Jeff is transcending all of the games with apparently magic fuel. I mean, I'm sure Zonda owners would... I'm sure Zonda owners would be pleased to having to worry about fuel, but I'm also sure if you're wealthy enough to worry or to own one of these Zondas, fuel probably doesn't matter, the cost of it, let's be honest. Yeah, they don't seem to have fuel tanks. Unless I am being dumb and blind, there doesn't seem to be a fuel tank, so we can't upgrade stuff in that. But, yeah, as far as unique components go, I mean, all the new DLC cars that have come out have come with unique engines, but I think these are certainly... sharing the least components with normal vehicles. And yeah, V12s are not something that... Is it W12 in the Bentley I think we've had? But yeah, full-on V12s and high-powered ones are very, very cool indeed. Right, let's get the tail lights on. I am curious whether the little flaps are going to work on this. Are we going to have working aero flaps on our Huayra? Because this thing won't have any... Well... So it won't have any movable flaps. It has many downforces from the mighty wing. It's not quite as mighty as the 205 T16, but or kind of like the hill climb mod one. But that's a pretty mighty wing for a road car. That's a pretty damn mighty wing for a road car. Actually, the whole front end comes off. Not that there's much. It's just carbon fibre. We can steal the splitter from all of that. Right, let's go and reset. I'm now going to put all the lights back in again. Oh, and all of the like wing mirrors and so on. These two vehicles, I should say, were got from the auction house in the game. They cost about just over $500,000 for both of them. I think this one was about 230,000, and this one was about 300 and a bit thousand. So, as far as base game cars go, fairly expensive, but when you played around with mod cars, nothing. Yes, as far as base game cars go, I think a car value of 301,000. Yeah, as far as base game cars go, these are probably going to be the most valuable ones. So we'll turn a decent profit restoring them. I don't know if you can find them in the junkyard. I'd be surprised. Often the high-end cars, certainly base game high-end cars, won't go in there. You can configure it if you want to see these turn up in the junkyards. You can go into the config files and change those around. But there we go. Recommend auction rather than trying to go to the car dealer and hope they turn up, because the car dealer's horrendously overpriced. Either way, we are going to head off to the racetrack, see how fast our two Paganis go. So, up first, we are going to have a go with the Huayra. I did forget to put oil in the cars a little bit. Apparently, well, this one here never came with oil. So, we've got the cars oiled up. A little bit difficult finding the oil plug on these engines because there's a lot of stuff going on. It is there. Just got to search for a little bit. Shall we go to the interior? I mean, it certainly looks the crazy part of... Oh, I forgot about the twitchiness of the handling. The crazy part of a Zonda. Yeah, it does change direction pretty damn well. However, good news... Oh, okay, the bad news is curbs are mean, but we kind of knew that. The good news is in terms of drivability, high-powered, very, very fast cars on this game are notoriously uncontrollable. While 1,000 horsepower Pontiac is the quickest car to ever lap this circuit, I think second quickest, or might be third quickest behind the Daytona, was a 205 with about 300 horsepower, because it was just so nice and easy to drive. This, I am very pleased to say, while it is slightly twitchy, and me trying to be smooth with the old steering inputs is failing quite miserably. Like, I am trying to do very smooth movements with the controller here. I'm not flicking it, like, I'm not on full lock with the steering at any point during this. Oh, Christ. Yeah, I'm trying to do sort of little movements. It is ferociously quick at changing direction. There is a lot of grip. There is a lot of grip in this. The kind of peculiarities down the straight, I think, are almost inherently built in with the way that the handling model works with this. Certainly when you're going as fast as this car is going. We're doing 150 down there on what is a very, very small test track. Supercars and curbs are something that, you know, let's face it, it's hardly surprising that this is going to bobble across those curbs. Means you've got to give the curbs a little bit more respect, perhaps, than I have done with some cars. You can't just aggressively chuck the car into everything. I'm not sure we're quite going to break the 50-second mark around here. Maybe if we don't go fly into the wall. Let's try and not fly into the wall. Let's try and not touch the steering when doing 150 down here. What happens when we jump on the brakes? Yeah, that's very, very good. Of the high-powered supercars, of the high-powered, the high-powered rear-wheel drive vehicles, this takes a little bit of time getting used to the ferociously snappy steering, but this is actually quite drivable. That is very, very good news. That is very good news. Yes, it is on racing slicks, which do help, as we found out a little while ago. Racing slicks are very helpful for lap times and so on, but even cars on racing slicks are sometimes quite uncontrollable. I remember the Mercedes SLR. This thing is wonderful to drive. It is the first time I've had a very, very fast, high-powered car actually be a pleasant experience to drive around this circuit. Now, I don't think it's quite as quick as the Pontiac, as the GTO. Oh, although I can't quite remember. Having just said that, we've almost rolled and smacked a wall. The downside, there is a bump on this straight, and that does still do mean things. That will, even with this car, being about one of the most controllable I've driven, that bump down the straight still does do mean things. I should also say, in regards to the lap time, this car is not 100% restored, and from what we have seen, what we have learned in the past, 100% restored cars are, well, slightly faster. I don't know if it's actually any better in terms of speed. Certainly the handling at times can be a little bit wobbly on cars. I mean, this is pretty good condition, but yeah, 100% restored cars are a tad better around circuits. Unfortunately, yeah, the wiggly aero bits do not wiggle on here, which is a little bit of a shame. Can't say I was particularly expecting that, though. I'm going to be honest here. After all, this is a game about, fixing cars, mechanicking cars, not actually about, driving them. It's cool that we have all of these different... Well, there's a test track. We've got this racetrack. There's, like, a testing area. There's the speed track, like a drag strip and off-road. So there's quite a lot of driving to be done with the cars that you can mechanic. But, yeah... It is, it's going to go down the street. Actually, probably a little bit easier trying to catch it when you're in third person, if I'm honest. That's the Huayra. It is the first high-powered car that I've actually felt confident in trying to drive quickly around the circuit here. And that's good news. That is very good news indeed. And of course, we can have some celebratory donuts for good measure. Where there was a 54.3. Can the essentially road legal Zonda R go quicker? I would expect it to, but then will it be as nice and composed? Well, there is certainly less wacky Zonda interior. I mean, still a little bit in here, but of course, much more full-on race car, and it certainly looks at home here on the circuit. I actually have a computer volume turned down a little bit, so I didn't really get to enjoy the noise of the Zonda. Hopefully this one is going to sound I mean, it's certainly a different sound. Certainly is a different sound. Oh, this has got... Holy crap, this is... I'm very... Ooh, okay. I'm very impressed with the way these cars drive. I'm actually going to turn my computer speakers down a little bit, because that's unbelievably noisy. Okay, yeah, the Huayra is a lot quieter. I mean, not very often you say that about Zonda, or about Pagani, sorry, I should say, but this thing is unbelievably noisy. Really good to drive. Unfortunately, the digital dashboard, when you're in first-person view, does not work. Not that they're massive. I have no control over the gears, unfortunately. Christ, this thing actually does drive really well. Can you do the one thing that scuppers every single car in this game? If we can do like 3 laps and not bin it across this bump when trying to change direction, you will be the best handling... Good God, that is actually... It's a proper handling car. Now, it might have trouble beating the lap record here. You see, the Pontiac, I could actually throw it across the curves. Now, while I don't think I cut the corners when I set the record, if I remember rightly, it was a while ago that we did it, just the fact that we could turn in and we could actually use the curves. This, I can't touch the curves. The front splitter is so low that it just pings the car into space. Like down here, for example, you can kind of straight line it in the Pontiac. In this, I've got to, you know, make it into an actual corner, because I can't even run a wheel a little bit across the curb because the front splitter gets caught. God, the grip in this car is unbelievable. That is, yeah, this is a seriously nice car to drive around here. I might have found my new favourite car in the game. It's not even having trouble coming down that straight. You can just chuck it into turn 1 as hard as you like, and it's absolutely fine. Nope, can't hit that. You just can't hit that curve even a little bit. As soon as you touch it, it's going to fire you into the scenery. There's still the odd little occasion where it is slightly unsure of itself in terms of the handling. I mean, these are massive improvements. These are huge improvements over what I've seen from the high-powered cars in this game in the past. Unbelievable levels of improvement over those. I can properly throw this car around the circuit and it is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine with all of that. Okay, I mean, you might look at the sort of steering and the change of direction. It's still perhaps a little twitchy as a handling model. Whoa, and there's curves again. It does, yeah, it gets launched off of another. We're finding all of the curves to crash on. Yeah, it's still perhaps it's a tiny bit twitchy. The front end it changes direction better than a go-kart, pretty much. But if we if we take that aside slightly, yeah, I'm really impressed. This is how we get high-powered cars around a test track. There is grip to throw it around. There is plenty of straight-line speed. The brakes are very good. Back end will let go if you chuck it about really hard, but you can catch it without it being a horrible, twitchy mess. I think this might be my favourite DLC that there's been for Car Mechanic Simulator. The vehicles drive amazingly. There is a huge amount of different custom bits, if you like, with the engines. Yet this can actually deal with that bump. It helps that I don't have to brake until after the bump as well, but oh, I've asked too much. Well, I mean, I know it's going to happen. I feel like there is potential. We'll have one more lap. Oh god, I just wanted to drive this car because I want to get it. I feel like there's definitely potential for a 49-second lap in this. A sub 50 might be possible if I can extract all of the speed out of the car. We will only have one more try. Yeah, this is a cool DLC. Very cool DLC. Having cars this fast, this powerful, be drivable is very nice in the game. And hopefully, again, in terms of modding, these can be kind of platforms over which other cars can be based upon. I did see in the patch notes for this, there's now a configurable thing you can do regarding downforce for vehicles. Again, in the config, so perhaps sort of the downforce that we get in this car is something that we will see in other high-end vehicles. So that, yeah, it's going to kind of make everything overall better to drive. And that is very good news. The driving aspect of this game was perhaps one of the weaker parts, with the cars, certainly the high-powered cars, being unfathomably difficult to control. This has got rid of a lot of the a lot of the weird characteristics. The Huayra does a little bit, but is in general better. This is outstanding. This takes over from the 205 as my favourite car to drive. A little bit of sliding by me. I would love a manual gearbox. I would love a proper manual gearbox. However, having a car this nice to drive, I will take. Come on, 49-second lap. Yes, we did it! A 49.930 for the Zonda. Oh, what a machine! What a machine! Well, there we go. That was a look at the Paganis that are coming to Car Mechanic Simulator. If like me, you haven't really perhaps thought about this game, haven't really played this game too much, there is plenty, I would say, to interest you with these. Just as a car to drive, it's worthwhile having these, and I look forward to seeing what modders can do with these parts. And now with car handling, it's evident that they can now handle the power. They do now have the grip to be drivable. So, yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out. Whether we'll do videos or more on some stuff, we'll have to wait and see. But whether it be videoed or whether it just be in my spare time, this has definitely got my interest a bit back into Car Mechanic. That though is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.